Chavdalet Sivan. Today's Rambam are Prokim Beis Gimel and Daled of Hilchas Tefillin. In Perek Beis of Hilchas Tefillin, Halacha Yud, the Rambam writes, Halekeach Tefillin, one who purchases Tefillin, Memi she'enoi mumche, from one who is not an expert, meaning from someone who's not a sefer, Tzorich lebotkan, he needs to examine them, he has to have them checked to see if they're kosher. Lokach mimenu meya ketzitzos, if he purchased from this individual 100 pieces, meaning 50 pairs, beidek mehen sholish ketzitzos, he does not have to be beidek, he does not have to examine all 100 pieces, he can examine 3 pieces, and the Rambam explains, Oy shtayim shel roish ve'achas shel yad, either 2 pieces of shel roish of the head, and 1 of the shel yad that goes on the arm, or oy shtayim shel yad ve'achas shel roish, 2 that go on the arm and 1 on the head. The Rambam paskins, he rules, im motzam kesherim, if he discovers them to be kosher, that the tefillin are kosher, huchzak zeho ish, then this individual, the seller, although he's not a scribe, he gains our trust. He gets a chazakah, a legal assumption that anything that will come out from under his hand, that everything that he sells is kosher. V'harei kulam kesherim, they are all kosher. Ve'ein hasha'ar tzorich bedika, we don't have to inspect or examine the other pieces, the other pairs of tefillin. The Rambam closes with a clause, Ve'im lekacham tzvasim tzvasim, if however he purchased them in bunches. In other words, he bought 100 pieces, 50 pairs, but he can tell that the pairs are in groups, in bundles. So then he understands that the seller did not acquire all the tefillin from one sefer. The seller gathers tefillin from various seferim, from various scribes. In that case, kulan tzrichos bedika, all of them need to be inspected to check if they are kosher. Shecheskas hatzavosim, we assume that these various bunches are all from different seferim. Me'anoshim harbe lekuchim, they are purchased from many people. Now, when we look at this halacha in the Rambam, which is based on a Gemara in Eruvin, we immediately begin to question, why is it that it's necessary to inspect, to double check the integrity of the seller? Don't we have a general rule that every single person is allotted trust? Kol Yisrael b'cheskas kashrus, everyone is trusted. Why here do we doubt the honesty of the seller? Also, we notice that this halacha, that one has to inspect tefillin, is only in regard to someone who purchases tefillin not from the sefer, someone who purchases tefillin from a salesman, from a non-expert. Meaning that if we purchase tefillin from a sefer, we don't have to check them. We assume, rightfully so, that the tefillin are kosher. Both of these points support each other and explain the halacha that's presented by the Gemara and as it's presented by Rambam here in this halacha. When a sefer sells tefillin, his reputation is on the line. If we discover later on that the tefillin aren't kosher, we're going to go back and we're going to approach the sefer. When we talk about approaching the sefer, we aren't discussing a psul that can happen over time, something like erosion or a crack in a letter, which can be weather-related or water damage, etc. We're talking about finding inside the tefillin gross errors, omissions, etc., etc. In other words, the sefer, by selling every pair of tefillin that he sells, has an extra incentive to make sure that the tefillin are kosher, to bring back customers and not to lose his reputation. A person who sells tefillin, a middleman, has 2 disadvantages. Number one, he's not an expert, he's not a sofer. Number two, he might be on the move and isn't necessarily putting his reputation on the line. A reputation as what? Therefore, the general chazakah, the general assumption that we allot to every person, that Kol Yisrael b'cheskas kashrus, cannot be said here. Because these tefillin weren't constructed and weren't written by this person. This person is relying on someone else. He is actually creating a buffer zone between the buyer and the scribe, taking away the possibility of pointing our finger at the scribe when we later discover that it's not kosher. Because of this buffer zone, it is very important that the seller establish himself as a person of integrity. What is very interesting is that this halacha, we find something very similar with regard to vegetables. That if we purchase a box with many heads of lettuce, and we open the box and we check 3 heads and we find them to be insect-free, we don't have to check the rest of the box. This, however, is said only if we don't have a chazakah, if there's no legal assumption that there definitely are bugs in the box, and also that they're all coming from the same place. Have a good day.